the Palm Beach police chief, Michael Ryder, who's one of the real heroes in this story, he just went ballistic. And he took a lot of heat. I mean, he was followed and stuff was put on his front door steps. I mean, but he wouldn't back down. And he started complaining to the feds. And that's when the feds got involved. And so the feds had the state tack on a child abuse charge. Mm-hmm. Epstein was looking at 15 years for the child abuse, and that grand jury had indicted him on one count of adult pandering. So he was looking at 20 years. And he got 18 months in the county jail. And actually, he had to serve 13 months, and he could get out. They let him out during the day, and he could molest young girls and then go back and sleep in his cell at night. He had pretty much fixed that wing of the jail up to kind of look like the Taj Mahal. And he'd given the law enforcement lots of money too. I mean, these guys were he gave them lots of money so he wouldn't have to deal with the other things that other prisoners have to deal with.
So you start investigating Epstein, you get the black book, somebody gives you this. How did they get it?
What happened there was Alfredo Rodriguez was the house manager of Epstein. And he ripped it off. And he was trying to sell it to one of the attorneys at that point that were starting civil lawsuits against Jeffrey Epstein. And the attorney called the FBI. And the FBI did a sting on Rodriguez. And that's how they got the black book. And then eventually that black book wended its way to me. Okay. But it was ultimately the FBI that impounded the black book.
So you started calling the victims, and these women were talking about how when they were young, they were being flown around to these various different islands.
Yeah, and some of them were still young. I mean, some of them were still in their teens. That's one of the great misnomers about Jeffrey Epstein is the media and the government have colluded, I'd say colluded, and decided that the youngest of these girls was 14 years old. But actually, these girls some of them were younger than 10 years old.
Younger than 10?
Younger than 10, yes.
Why is that not made it out into the media? What stops that?
Well, I mean, the media has just been ethical eunuchs about this. I mean, no major media in the United States of America has called for justice. They're very good at digging up salacious dirt about Jeffrey Epstein, but no media has called for justice. I just find it mind-boggling. You've got these little girls being trafficked with impunity, and all as our media can do is dig up salacious dirt. It's really, it's so abominable.
Yeah.
How the media has followed the government has covered this up, but the way that the media has taken its cue is all media is really, really heinous.
So Acosta says that Jeffrey Epstein, he was told to leave it alone because Epstein was intelligence. Which intelligence do we think Epstein? I mean, I've always believed Israeli intelligence, Mossad. There's connections there with Ghislaine Maxwell and her father. What have you been thinking during your investigation?
I mean, political blackmail is as old as politics itself. People are very naive about that. I'll give you a couple of examples. Alexander Hamilton was having an affair with a 23-year-old who was married, and her husband was blackmailing him. And then a muckraking journalist got a hold of the story and outed Alexander Hamilton in his affair. And Jefferson and Hamilton were very antagonistic towards each other, Thomas Jefferson. And when Jefferson got elected president, that muckraker who outed Hamilton's affair, Jefferson wouldn't give him a job in his administration. So he outed Jefferson as having sex with one of his slaves, Sally Hemings, which has been shown to be true. It's been political blackmail is as old. I mean, as long as it's just status quo. I mean, the KGB, the CIA, they've been using political blackmail forever. I mean, people don't think that the CIA is going to use political blackmail. They're using political blackmail in Europe, that they're not going to use it here.
Right.
Now, Epstein might have been affiliated with the Mossad. Here is my thoughts on that. Epstein might have been affiliated with the Mossad, but there's no way that the CIA is going to let the Mossad compromise American politicians on American soil and not get a cut of the intelligence.
Right.
That's just not going to happen. So it could have been the Mossad and CIA colluding, or it could have been the CIA by itself. It's one of the
right. Yeah, I think you're right on that. It definitely was. If that's the situation, then I think it was both. But certainly, I think you're right that the CIA wouldn't allow for a blackmail operation of that size with those political figures to happen without them being in on it too.